Hi, my name's Neil Fallon. I sing for Clutch, and if you're not in the now, you're in the nothing.
So the big Clutch Hell Yeah tour is going on right now. How's that been going for you guys?
It's been fun. Just banging these shows out one after another.
Mm-hmm.
Probably about 2/3 of the way done. Headed kind of back east at this point, and it's been good.
Kind of heading back home now?
Yeah, more or less. We started out east, came all the farthest west we got was Boulder, and then we're headed back east now.
Nice. So what's next for you guys after the Hell Yeah tour? Are you going to take some time off? You're going to go back out on the road?
We've got 1 or 2 European festivals we're going to do in the summer, and some kind of real short tours, one in July and then one in September. But for the most part, we're up until the end of August, we're busy writing our record, and we'll record in September.
Nice.
And that'll probably put the record out at the beginning of 2013.
Nice.
And so we've been playing a lot of new songs live while just kind of putting them through the trials on stage.
Seeing which ones have the potential of becoming part of your guys' Clutch family.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to find out. Sometimes you write a song in the studio and then you play it on stage and it doesn't really sound the same.
It's kind of like night and day between the two.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, talking about the new record, how would you describe the writing process for this one as opposed to like maybe the last 1 or 2? Is it the songs different, or are you staying the same style?
The songs that we've written thus far have been faster. Not many more aggressive, it's just the tempo's faster. And just kind of stripped down nuts and bolts rock and roll. I mean, maybe that's because, touring with, Motorhead and Thin Lizzy kind of back to back, maybe that rubbed off on us a little bit, but that's a good problem to have.
Oh yeah, wow. That's definitely some good bands to be out on the road with.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Any particular memories from that tour that kind of stand out in your mind? Anything special happen, or?
Getting to talk to Lemmy or Scott Gorham was, just rad.
Yeah.
It would just in a very casual way. There's not nearly as much excitement and drama as people might think on the off hours of not being on stage. We keep things very low key. But I can say between the 2 tours we've done with Motorhead, I've seen Motorhead probably 60 times.
Wow.
And I've seen Thin Lizzy now probably 20 times. Obviously it's not the Thin Lizzy of Phil's day, but I thought they shredded. They were incredible, and I wish they would kind of get the acknowledgement here that they do back in the UK, because those shows are fantastic. They're really, really good.
Now, on the lines of, you were talking about those bands, influences for you personally, I assume those 2 were influences on you. Anybody else that was like a real heavy influence on you musically?
I think there's a couple different branches. Like when we were really young, we listened to both a lot of heavy metal like Black Sabbath, and we listened to a lot of punk rock like the Bad Brains. And all the bands that were associated with those 2 kind of camps. We listened to a lot of Fugazi. I think they had a bigger influence than we realized, just not at the time, but in hindsight, I think they had a big influence. Not overtly, but I guess anything you listen to is an influence, one way or another, even if it's just a couple notes in one song. Listen to a lot of blues and jazz and country and hip hop and everything under the sun. It's important to kind of listen to music that doesn't sound like yours.
Yeah.
To put things in perspective.
Now, we were outside waiting to come in, and there's a real young boy out there. This is like his first concert, and he's holding Clutch on vinyl. You don't see vinyl around very much anymore. What's your thoughts about vinyl and how it kind of disappeared, but then there's some spots where it's kind of coming back? Are you a vinyl fan?
Yes, I am. I think there's a couple different things there. CDs have become, are going to go in the way of the cassette in a lot of ways. I mean, people buy a CD, they burn it, and then it ends up on the floor of their car. vinyl is much more of a fragile thing, and it's much more of a tangible collector's thing. And you look at it, you feel it, and when you play it, you're dedicated to listening to it. It's not like an iPod where you just take your eye from your earbuds in and out. It's more of like a dedicated listening experience when you sit down to listen to a record, and I think maybe people are rediscovering that. People's attention spans are so short these days. I think it's a good thing. And also, with MP3s, they're so intangible. They're great because you can carry thousands of songs with you at any time. But I think it feels like when you have a record, it's almost like buying stock in a band. You feel like you've interacted with them more than you would have just by duplicating an MP3. And it sounds better. I guess that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah. Now, do you have a favorite record that you own in your collection that is like the prized possession, like your number one? Like you can't go anywhere without having that one?
There's a lot of them. I think probably side B of Pink Floyd's Metal is one of my favorite things to listen to on a Sunday morning.
Nice. That's pretty badass. I found it at a store for $8.99, and I guess they printed up so many of them. They're pretty cheap. I mean, I'm not really into collecting rarities. I like. You buy the stuff that you can play.
Yeah, I want to listen to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some old hardcore 7-inches that are worth hundreds of dollars, but I'll never listen to them because they're terrible. But apparently some people just want to dish out money because there was only, 500 or 1,000 of these things made. And if I ever need some extra change, I will certainly be more willing to sell those than Pink Floyd's Metal.
Yeah.
To be completely honest.
Now, I was talking about this young boy outside who's, this is going to be his first concert. What do you think about the younger generation coming on, becoming Clutch fans? Does that surprise you that the younger guys, the younger generation is digging what you guys are doing?
Well, it's gratifying, and it does, I don't know what the right word is, I guess it is gratifying, that young kids who get bombarded by peer pressure to listen to very specific things by their friends, and 9 times out of 10 they're absolutely terrible. I was no different when I was that age. If young kids can latch onto our band or any other band and see through all the nonsense that is out there these days, and that's pretty cool. And we see a pretty wide age range at our shows these days. We see a lot of people bringing their kids. We see grandparents bringing their kids, and that's pretty cool. I'd rather have it that way than just every single fan be, a 3-year age span. And that happens a lot. I mean, when a band blows up with a hit, in the summer of 1992, if you happen to be 18, and then that was it. Maybe that's a product of just touring and touring and touring and touring, and not having the burden of some kind of overnight success story.
And speaking of touring, I mean, you guys do, a lot of touring as a band. There's, I have a few bands that I call road dogs, and bands that are always on the road, whether they have something new or not. They're out there because they love to play music and they love to play it live. And I consider you guys one of those bands because you guys are always out playing a show or doing a small tour. You guys keep yourself busy and haven't lost the passion for what you do. What do you think? What do you think keeps you guys, wanting to do this and not getting burned out on it?
You have to strike a balance. You can't get burned out on it. I won't lie. The older you get, the more difficult it is to leave home because your responsibilities are greater. When you're 19, you can go out for half a year and then crash in your parents' basement. It's fine. It's different now. But I love doing this. My idea of success is not, fame and fortune. My idea of success is I only really wake up and I have to, other than like take out the trash and do the dishes, and the same things that everyone else does. I only have to do two things. That's either write rock and roll music or perform rock and roll music, and that's a pretty fortunate thing to be able to say and do. And I don't take that for granted, because I know a lot of friends that have bands and all they want to do is just play a damn show, and they can't even manage to do that because of whatever reason. And here we are, we get to tour the world and play music that we write, and people in other countries sing along, and that's a thrill. Sure, there are times when it gets old and you don't feel like doing it, but you know, the worst day of rock and roll is the best day of being stuck in morning traffic, you know. And I also think, you know, you got to challenge yourself. I'd rather take a risk and fail than, you know, just kind of regurgitate some stuff. And, the creative life is, it's emotional, but it reaps bigger rewards, I think, in the end.
Yeah, you seem to have the right attitude with the whole music scene.
And I think that's what bands are supposed to do, is tour. They're supposed to play live. All that other nonsense is just, you know, that comes after. Records, that's great, but, you know, people have been playing live for tens of thousands of years. And that's the immediacy of the show is much more important than the static nature of a video or a record or in stores or all the other kind of nonsense that gets along with it. It's the show that matters.
What got me as a kid growing up was my first concert was Kiss back in 1977, and what got me was their interaction with the audience. They weren't up there like, we're rock stars and you guys are peons. They had an interaction with the audience, and they had a connection with the audience. And you guys kind of have that same thing where, I mean, the Clutch fans are some die-hard Clutch fans. And, you know, they're kind of like I hate saying a gang, but I mean, they stick together. A family is more of a better word. Does that surprise you at all that the fans are that dedicated to you guys? Or loyal?
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I think that also has to do with when you build up a fan base by touring. They become fans of a band and not just one or two songs. And it takes a longer time to do that. But it lasts a lot longer. And what does, I mean, we've never really been too preoccupied with, you know, a lot of smoke and mirrors on stage. And I think certain people appreciate that. Some people hate it. You know, they say, well, where's your pyro? This isn't a show. And if that's what they're into, we're not the band for them. Maybe it's just we're too lazy. But
well, I mean, from my opinion, your guys' music speaks for itself. You don't need the gadgets and gizmos and explosions, because it's more powerful just with your vocals and the music of the band. Just from my perspective as a fan, and that's why I like you guys, because you don't need the big backdrops and all the fancy lights and fog machines and this and that to pull off a damn good show.
Well, we try to keep it as simple as possible. And you know, going back to Motorhead, one of the conversations I had with Lemmy, we were talking about stripping things down. Sometimes you can get like distracted with adding stuff to music or adding stuff to a show, and that can tend to make you lose focus and become lazy, because you start relying on that and not music. And he just said to me, it's only rock and roll. You're not storming the gates of Fallujah. It's supposed to be simple. That's why people come here, is to forget about life for a while. And if you make it complicated, then all of a sudden they're not being entertained. They're just being kind of fooled. I don't know if that makes any sense, but a lot of people can tell sincerity on stage or not. Some people don't want sincerity. Some people want a magic show. You know, to each their own.
Yeah. So just a couple more questions, and we'll wrap this up. Are you a fan of the social networks out there? Do you interact with those? Is that something that you're into at all? Because I know some people are and some aren't.
I'm one of those who is not. I have nothing to do with it.
rather just keep your personal life to yourself than put it out there for everyone.
All my friends have my phone number, and I don't know. When I go home, I mean, this whole touring thing is very social. There's a lot of people all the time. So when I go home, I like to shut up shop. Just have
just be normal.
Just
again.
quiet. I have an email address. I have that.
Nice.
There's that.
Nice. So, what's the rest of the year hold for you guys?
Well, we're just got those couple festivals. We have two quick, very quick tours, and then
is one of those with Prom?
One of those is with Prom.
Nice.
That's the one in I believe it's in August. Is it in August? Yeah, I believe it's in August. It's not too terribly long. Mm-hmm. It's only maybe about 2 weeks long, and
I like that pairing between the two.
Well, Prong gave us one of our very first tours ever back in '94.
Wow.
And I guess we had done a couple before that, but that was a big tour for us, mm-hmm. and we became friends with those guys. And actually, even before then, they gave us some one-off gigs when they came through Baltimore. And Prong's near and dear to our hearts because Tim and John Paul were always big fans of Prong, and they introduced me to them. And I remember when we were initially looking for a second guitar player, I went to the University of Maryland Student Union bulletin board where everybody put like their thing, like selling amps or bands. Mm-hmm. And I put a little 3x5 card band looking for second guitar player, must have own, and all it said was must have own gear, and you must be into Prong, and that was it. And the guy that showed up was a bit of a hack, so he didn't last very long.
Nice.
but Prong is a great band.
Yeah, I've known Tommy for years and years. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those guys.
Yeah.
So when I was hearing about that, I was like, man, I wish you guys would come through here, but I don't think there was any dates coming back.
Yeah, I think it's primarily east of the Mississippi.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome pairing, though. Definitely.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Well, cool, man. Well, thanks a lot for taking time to chat with us today.
Thanks, bud.
I appreciate it, man.
Cheers.